say at the beginning, Mayor?
I wanted to say about the lawnmowers.
Okay.
You know, I guess you had taken a consensus vote about purchasing the lawnmowers, and with the in addition to saying that with the purchase we will not use the contractors, but there's still no way.
It's live now.
Say at the beginning, Mayor. Okay. So okay. All right. So what I'll do, we're gonna go live. I'm gonna call an order, then I'll augment the agenda so we can start off with that. But if everybody is ready, let's see if we can call to order the Finance Committee meeting on June 24th, 2020. Time I have is 5:38 p.m. So we'll do a roll call for the Finance Committee. I have Trustee Brown.
Here.
Trustee Steve.
Here.
And Trustee House is present. We'll go into the Pledge of Allegiance. So pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll lead us in a prayer. Heavenly Father, we just want to say thanks for another opportunity to do your will. We ask that you oversee the finances for the village of Dalton and everybody that's able to join us via virtually or in person. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Okay, so with that on the agenda, we're gonna go immediately in. I want to, we have Mayor Rogers here with us, and we had some discussion amongst the board of in terms of purchasing some lawnmowers that would, my initial understanding was that we would use these lawnmowers for public works to go out and do the cutting of the vacant grasses. There was so that we would be able to eliminate the contractors. I misunderstood. So we're looking to significantly reduce the amount of money that we're spending on grass cutting, but because of the amount of grasses that are out there, may still need to use some of the vendors. So Mayor, if you can maybe, because I did speak with all of the board individually so that we would not violate Open Meetings Act. However, I think I conveyed the wrong information. So if you can, please just clarify for me so that way as a board, we can make plans to move forward.
Okay, when I suggested purchasing lawnmowers to help assist with cutting the grass, because we haven't used any of the vendors yet, and with all the significant rain that we have had and all the rain that they're forecasting in the future, that the overgrowth of this grass has really been extreme. So I suggested buying lawnmowers, 5 to 8 regular lawnmowers, and at least 2 of the bigger landscape type lawnmowers, if you will, or the tractor type lawnmowers, to help reduce the cost that we've been paying these vendors. So with the amount of personnel that we have in the public works and the other duties that they take on, we could not significantly, actually we could not cut all the houses. We have over 200 vacant houses. I don't have the current number, but there's no way that they could actually cut all those houses, especially with the rain that we've had practically every week since the last month. So in saying that, a lot of the money that we've spent in the past to the vendors, if we would spend that towards those lawnmowers and then have Public Works on a daily basis send those guys that they can't send out to cut grass, and then take a look at the housing stock that we have that is vacant in the lots that we need to cut, and divide that among the 3 vendors that we had current or that we've used in the past. And that would help reduce the cost, and we would have our own equipment to accomplish that task.
Okay.
So and then I just want to say that I guess when you convey to the trustees that in purchasing these lawnmowers, we wouldn't use any vendors, but we couldn't cut all the grass that needs to be cut.
Okay. So what I'll do, I'm still in favor of it. However, if I misconveyed the information to the other trustees, so I did not want to move forward under miscommunication of information and things like that. I know last year when we looked at the amount spent, it was about 100,000 spent on the grass cutting because of the number of grasses and the amount of time that we had to do. Would you have an idea, or I don't know if they run any numbers of how much we think we could save? Because I believe we were looking at spending 10,000 on the lawnmowers and that equipment. So as long as the savings is more than 10,000, it still to me makes sense. I think when I individually talked to the trustees, Trustee Brown, Steve, and Denton and myself were in favor. Trustees Henyard and Holmes were not in favor at the moment. So I want to make sure that as we move forward, everybody has the same information, so that way their votes can be their vote.
Well, I'm going to say that 10,000 is not enough. Those larger tractors, riding lawnmowers, they're not riding lawnmowers. They're almost like tractors with the component on the back that cuts probably, I think those decks are anywhere from 65 inches, some up to 80 inches that would actually cut the grass much faster in larger areas also. I think those things are probably about 10,000 each. So I would say spend 25,000. That'll be 25% of what we actually spent last year, and we would have the equipment. Right now, I think we've only got one tractor with the deck that large that they utilize in those big areas. But still, we need equipment like that. You know, the smaller lawnmowers, they can cut the residential areas, but those lots that need to be cut, those parcels that are the bigger parcels, they need the bigger decks to cut them. The riding lawnmowers that used for residential, they're usually about 48-inch deck on them. So we need bigger decks than that to cut the grass.
Okay.
So with that being said, do we still have employees on furlough at Public Works?
Well, they're taking a 1-day furlough.
So are they coming back when we do the grass cutting?
I would suggest that they don't come back, which would also continue the salary savings. But 1 day, once every pay period, that's once every 14 days. I don't think that would significantly hurt us in cutting the grass. It'll be just like them taking a vacation day or a holiday.
Now would we be in violation of the contract or no? Because if we bring on vendors, paying them to do a job and we still got them off, we just want to make sure we don't do any, violate any part of the contract.
Yeah, I don't think that would hurt with the contract because they cut grass now, and it's a necessary evil.
Okay.
We can't continue to get, and I get it probably 3 or 4 times a week, Mayor. When you go start cutting the grass the house next to me is got grass so high they have to cut it. I've called Public Works several times. They either don't answer or they promise to cut it and it never gets cut. So going forward, we have to address this issue. We're in June now. We haven't had we've had a few of the residential spots have been cut by Public Works, but the grass now, you almost need weed whackers to get the grass cut now, because in some cases it's like 2 feet tall with grass, so, and that's where the bigger equipment will come in. You send a bigger equipment in to cut taller grass like that. And if you want to, you can get an opinion from John Murphy, but I don't think that furlough day has any issue with it.
Okay. Trustee Steve, any comment, thought?
No.
Okay. I think my only my thing would be just a 25. If we're spending 25, which was a quarter of what we spent, then on our budget as we propose it, as we're working through it this year, if we can reduce the amount that we're spending on vendors down, do you think 25,000 for the vendors as well would be sufficient along with the mowers? Meaning we would spend 50,000 total on lawn equipment, but we would still be saving 50,000 overall from last year's budget.
I think, and and I may be wrong here, but we may be able to get the equipment for a little less than 25,000. I know we purchased the equipment before with our in-town lawnmower vendor, and looking at some prices in other places, that equipment can be bought cheaper. So it's just like, you know, if we did our personal shopping, we look for price. But I would say, you know, if we stayed in the area, say, even if it was 40,000 or 30,000 to the vendors, we just chop it up between them, and they do what they can do, and the rest we'll have Public Works do. I would say an examination of the vacant properties, we give the vendors the taller grass, because those vendors have a lot more equipment than we have in our stock, and they could go in and probably get it done to a better doing a better job than we can initially on that initial cut. But once this is under control, we're looking at cutting the grass possibly every 2 weeks, and get the situation under control.
Okay. Well, I would say, like, to me, or my recommendation, then I guess maybe, because I think we have to, from finance, make the recommendation, and we'll see if the other trustees, or at least one more, would agree, would be that we do, like you mentioned, 30,000 for the vendors and 20,000 for the equipment, which would be 50,000 total on our budget, and we would still be $50,000 cheaper than last year's spending.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right, Mayor?
Or if we did 25, it depends on what we can get the equipment for. The largest cost will be those larger deck mowers, and I think we should shop at a price of the law, you know, of all the equipment, not just use our local lawnmower service here, and maybe even approach Menards, since we have an account with Menards, in regards to giving us better prices on lawnmowers to you know, provide us with the equipment we need.
Okay. Trustee Brown, you're okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Trustee Steve?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so we got 3. I'll have conversation with the Trustee Holmes or Trustee Denton and Henyard, and see if we can get the 4th person.
You said Denton was okay with it. Was she okay with it or no?
Well, when I conveyed it to her, I conveyed to her that we would not have any contractors. This is an adjustment, so I want to make sure that she makes a decision based on the most current information.
And I might add that we need to do this ASAP, because even next week they're saying, and I'm looking at the news right now, tomorrow rain, Saturday rain, Sunday rain, Monday rain, Tuesday 50% chance, rain all day Wednesday. So we're looking at another 5 days of rain that's going to continue to make this grass grow aggressively. So whatever we decide, and if you can get to the other trustees, we need to start on this ASAP and start the shopping. You know, even if the trustees looked on some sites and got some prices in regards to the equipment, and then we go forward and get it done.
Okay, I'll be on the phone with them by tomorrow.
And Tammy, I mean, Trustee Brown, you're I mean, you do a lot of shopping online and take a look at different things.
I will.
Like lawn furniture.
I've already started, Mayor.
So you know, if all of us would look and say, hey, I found this equipment over here, and then also maybe do some research into the durability of the equipment.
Okay.
You know, a commercial type equipment that's going to last us and give us service.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm going because my conference call is going to start here in 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you for your time.
All right. Good night, Mayor.
Good night.
All right. So we're going to move into on the agenda old business, which is our monthly financial reports. So these are reports we looked at each and every month just to see where we're at in terms of tracking general fund, the water fund, and we were tracking the Melanie Fitness Center. So we'll continue with the Melanie Fitness Center this month. However, I think a decision has been made by the board to place up for sale. So expenses now on that are at a minimal. So months in the coming months, we likely will not be tracking that as we'll still be tracking, of course, financially, but we won't be reporting on it in our finance committee. But that being said, the document for the monthly reports has been uploaded. Am I right, Trustee Steve?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They're on the website.
Okay, it's updated on the website as was requested. I think it may have gotten up there within the past couple of hours, but so for those who may have been looking for it prior to that, it should be there at this moment. Give a moment to anybody that may need to get it. Does all of the finance committee members have the monthly financials in front of them?
I do.
I do.
Okay, so we'll go straight to the general fund. Let's see if I can find these pages.
What page you on?
Page 11 printed, and let me see if you're looking at it on the laptop. It's 14. Is that the right one? Okay, yeah, page 14 on the printed version. Now, if we'll note, this month, May is the first month of our fiscal year. So when we're looking at this, you don't see anything in the fiscal year budget. That's because we haven't passed our budget. So we're operating right now without a budget. However, we know bills still have to be paid. So what we'll be discussing is revenues minus expenses. And then as we get the budget, we'll populate it in, and all of the spending we've done will be compared to what we've projected, and then we'll see if we need to make any adjustments. That being said, the excess of revenues over expenditures is $101,365 from the general fund, first month into the year. I don't know if there was anything salient or big from that month. Chris, anything that we should be mindful of for the month of May?
From an expense standpoint, not really. The only thing I would note is if you look at your revenues compared to last year in May, so page 7 electronically and page 4 if you're looking at a printed copy. Last year you had 2.1 million in revenues. This year you've only collected 1.7. So you're about 400,000 less in revenue compared to last year, or 437,000 compared to last year.
Okay.
That's on what page that on? Page 7, you say electronically?
Yep.
I don't see the one for last year in 2019.
So that would be your last column. So it would be May actual, fiscal year budget, percent of budget, and then prior year May actual.
Prior year actually. So you say there should be a number over there that says what? 4 million?
$2,140,294.80.
So you say in the month of May we lost that much in revenue.
Yes, compared to last year.
And what was the reason for that loss of revenue?
Part of that is due to the coronavirus. All the businesses were closed, and you guys were losing sales tax, real estate taxes because they weren't being distributed.
Hello?
Did you hear me?
You kind of went away. Went out.
Can you hear, Chris? I mean, Trustee Steve?
Yeah, I can hear. I can hear nothing now. Is this just me?
We can hear you.
Yes, it's just you.
Oh, good Lord, I can't hear Chris.
Hey, Chris, try one more time, see if you can.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, so the revenue that you lost was in part due to COVID, due to closing of the businesses and the deferral of payments for your real estate taxes.
Okay.
Okay.
That completes your question, Trustee Steve?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next up, the water fund on page 14, if you printed it out, 17, if you're looking at it digitally, looks like there was operating income surplus, $329,530. That's a good number. How do we do that?
Because
Okay.
for the month of May, the city of Chicago payment of usually around 300,000, we recorded it as an accrual, so it was automatically posted into the previous fiscal year. Because that's electronic billing.
Okay.
So I was able to post it into the previous year. That's why you don't see anything for Chicago this month.
Okay, so that's not a ongoing repeatable number because that's more of a one-time revenue.
Yeah, so that's a one-time expense that will be recorded in the previous year. Next year, next month, you'll see City of Chicago expense on your financials.
Okay.
I do want to remind everyone that the 329,000 surplus right now, that is revenue. That does not mean that's cash. Because remember, we post billing at gross, not at what you actually are going to collect.
Right.
Okay. That's a good note. Any questions from the committee?
No, not so far.
Okay, hearing none, we'll go into the Melanie Fitness Center. I'm looking for it now. So it says it's 19 printed, should be 22 if you're looking at it on the yeah, it should be page 22 if you're looking at it digitally, showing operating loss $5,565. As we know, there's not really much activity over there, and I think we only have one salary happening at the moment, which is just maintaining the facility itself. So,
Okay, I got a question on that. Did we have the new appraisal for that property done yet or no?
No. No, we did not have the recommendation from the people that I called and I talked to.
Right.
They will not. They could do it, but it's going to be like a new appraisal, and that's about $5,000.
Why
So
would it be a new appraisal?
they said they wouldn't. The last appraisal was 2017. So,
Okay.
So
Is there anyone else we could possibly find that would be cheaper than that or no?
What I suggest and when I talk to the attorney and the mayor is that let's see if we get some people who want to purchase it, and then it will be on them to get that appraisal.
But then what would you think about? You got to put a price out there for them too, also, and you don't want to go lowball because we did put another $200,000 in there.
Yeah. The last appraisal was $800,000, so that's what we'll start at. And then if they want, come in, I'm sure we're gonna have a set price, but if I would recommend that you let them get the appraisal and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Another question. Is Rashida back or no?
Yeah, she started back Monday.
Okay.
So she paid her rental fee and her business license fee.
Okay. Cool. Okay.
all right.
And that's not page 22 digitally.
It's not.
No. I forgot what page I found it on, but it wasn't.
I'm looking at 22 on mine. It's 19. It has 19 at the very bottom of the printed page.
Okay, I think. Oh, that's not. It's 19 the digital page. I'm on. It's on 19. The one I got is 19.
Okay, yeah, 22 digital, 19 printed.
Yep. And then also what what is that? Phase 4 is going on Friday, which includes opening gyms. However, when I read it, opening gyms, you can let people in, but you gotta move the equipment 6 feet apart.
Absolutely.
If somebody uses the shower, you gotta have a cleaning crew go and clean the shower. You gotta clean. I mean, it's just a lot. So if not even mentioning that, the fact that even this past month, as Chris has said, we lost $400,000 in revenue, and we're going to lose more. So financially, we're not able to reopen the Melanie Fitness Center at all. Even if we don't get a buyer, we still have people laid off, still people taking furloughs. So financially, I'm saying that for the people who may be watching, is that we're going to do some communications on just letting the people know the state and where we're at with Melanie Fitness. So when they hear that the gyms are open in the state, that does not mean Melanie Fitness.
Okay.
Okay. Any additional questions, Melanie Fitness Center?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, we're going to move into the next couple. We're going to kind of the next 2 points we'll couple together. So I'm going to ask Chris if you can kind of just talk us through the bond payment status and the water payments for City of Chicago. Are we on track and if not, what things do we need to prepare for?
So the bond payment status, June 1st, you had your interest payment that you have to make for your various bonds, and you guys, as far as have made those payments, so those are automatically escrowed, so they're automatically taken out of the account. So those were all made.
Okay.
For the City of Chicago, your monthly water bill was paid. So then that leaves your liability payment. That's your annual. We are accumulating resources to make that payment through the process. So as we get tax revenue in, we're transferring those funds so that way we have the resources to make that payment come in December.
Okay. One thing I do want to note for the board, and Chris, if I'm miswording this, please correct me. The potential of loss of property tax revenue due to COVID and maybe people walking away or not being able to pay their property tax bills can and likely will impact the amount of money that our general fund would need to supplement our bond payment moving forward, and whether it's this year or next year. So as we're going into the budget period this year, as well as looking into next year, we want to be really, really mindful of the tax collections, not only as it affects our general fund, but how it may impact our bond payment and money that we may have to subsidize.
Yes, I do want to remind the trustees, last year when we had to make the bond payment, a portion of that bond payment was funded through the general fund because we didn't collect enough to cover the payment. And that was before COVID. So I just want to remind everyone that COVID has caused a decrease in collection just because people don't have the money to pay due to everything that's going on. So that could create a problem down the line.
Okay, so that's something that we will discuss more and more as we go through the monthly financials. There's a lot of different ways to kind of try to loosely project how much, but given the uncertainty of COVID, the projection would probably be just as good as picking a number out the sky at this moment. So I bring it up at this moment, right now, as well as in months moving forward, that as I think we have a little bit more certainty, it'll better allow us to plan for it. But at this moment, it's something that we want to make sure we're really mindful of. Having said that, we're going to go into the balance of uncollected water bills, or the money outstanding. Let's see. So I'm on page 36 printed, the very last page, and 40 digitally, showing that we have $3.9 million worth of outstanding water accounts. 300,000 in 1 to 30 days, 127,000 30 to 60, and 118,000 60 to 90 days, which those totals are larger than we normally do. Certain we did the moratorium on water shutoffs throughout this period, and that moratorium is still ongoing. However, the moratorium will be ending the first week of July. So
July 7th, I think it was.
July 7th.
Yes.
So again, I would say residents, please come in, if you're able to make the payments. If you're not able to, come in and make the payment arrangement. So that way it helps, of course, with the financial condition that we need, but then also make sure that nobody's water's cut off, because we don't want anybody in a bad position.
Absolutely.
I think Administrator Scott was working on a program that it looks has been approved that can help offset some of the water fees for those who are in dire need. Liz, are you available?
Yes, I am. I'm driving, but I can talk. So we were successful in getting a donation. New Community Church is donating $10,000 to assist us with the water relief fund. It is $100 for each resident. The only thing you have to do to qualify is you have to be at least 6 months which is 2 billing cycles delinquent. And we will apply the $100. I've been faxing over all of the numbers to the church, and they're going to be remitting checks. And it's in a timely fashion. You remit it, we receive notification of the money within about less than a week. So we still have a lot of slots left for people who are interested in taking advantage of this. The program is first come, first serve. It's $100 per account for the residents who qualify. All you have to do is come into Village Hall and fill out a form. It's a really short form with about 5 questions on it. And you can leave it at the front desk. Larry Bradley will grab it and give it to me.
Okay, thank you for that update. Any questions from the committee?
Just one thing, have a lot of residents been taking advantage of that donation list?
Yeah, we have almost, not quite, about a third. We're about a third full now. So I'm expecting that probably after next week, we'll have reached the full amount, the 10,000. So I encourage everyone to come in. It's Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And please come in Village Hall, because the water department, they don't have the forms. We're just trying to move things along in the water department and not put any additional paperwork on them. So just come into Village Hall and we'll take care of you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, Trustee Steve? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move into our new business section of here. So our new business, I have a couple of items on here, just a few things that were sent to me either via email, phone call, or communication. So I wanted to talk about it through the Finance Committee. These are items on here that I would say the Finance Committee has the ability to make recommendations. However, these are not items that come up for resolution or for voting purposes. So we do want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and looking over records, making recommendations to help and follow up to see if the administration finds them helpful or will implement them. We strongly insist, but ultimately these are things that have to be decided and done through administration. The first one on there is with the furlough, because we all know we had monthly updates on furloughs. There have been several, and there have been mixed wording of what I've heard about the implementation of furloughs, and that all employees are not taking the furloughs as we discussed. So in saying that, I'm not going to, at this moment, I'm not going to ask Administrator Scott to be put on the spot with this, but I do want to see if we can note this for our next meeting, because I do want to get an update and see what exactly is our plan for furloughs, because we have to make sure that the furloughs are consistent, because that can cause a morale issue in terms of some people taking them and some not. It may follow with some grievances that can happen. My recommendation, and I'll open it up to the committee as well, is if we're going to do furloughs, that we have them consistent across the board. If we're not doing furloughs, or if we can't do it because of time constraints and things like that, that we lift that so that it be consistent for everybody and minimize us from the board as well as from any kind of litigation. But that was my suggestion or my thought. If I'm misworded or if I'm saying something incorrectly, Chris, Ms. Scott, please correct me, and then I'll open up to the committee for any thoughts that they may have on this topic. No comments. Trustee Brown, Trustee Steve.
The only thing I agree with you. If the employees are, if everybody is made to take furlough days, then it should be fair across the board that everybody take a furlough day. If it's once a week or once every other week, then everybody should be, taking their furlough days. Again, especially with union employees, that causes grievances if, some are taking it and some not. Definitely, I know that for sure. You definitely got to be fair when it comes to that contract. Everybody that's a union employee should be taking a furlough day if that's what we're asking everyone. So we definitely need to be fair across the board, that everybody's taking their furlough days and that no one is actually getting paid that's supposed to take a furlough day. So let's be fair when we put these things out there.
Okay. Trustee Steve, comment?
No problem.
Okay. Next thing up on the agenda, one area that I looked at. So again, I bring this up to Finance Committee for discussion. And if we agree, we recommend it to to Ms. Scott administration. When I was looking through just different ways, because we know with the COVID, we talked about furloughs, layoffs. Our biggest expense that we have is our payroll. So I kind of took a couple of different months worth of payroll registers to kind of see if there's ways that we could be more efficient. And looking at it, I noticed that pretty much that most people had 80 hours, strictly 80 hours being paid, which would mean that nobody clocked in late, nobody came at 8:02 instead of 8 o'clock, 8:05. But really what I noticed is we have a manual reporting system where there's a handwritten a timesheet instead of a clocking system. At some point in the past, I think we looked at the clocking system, but it was never implemented. And I was thinking from an accuracy standpoint and likely accountability standpoint and efficiency, because now we're gathering all the time cards. They're going to Chris. Chris is spending some time. We know how much we love to pay Chris in the Conspira group, but they're spending time typing in these things into the computer. So my thought, again, I was opening this up for committee recommendation, was that we should implement using the time punch and time clock system that is offered to us through paychecks. I know a lot of cases there's initially in the onset there's generally some resistance to doing it because it's a new process, which is natural. But I think that is something that if we hone in could actually end up being a savings for the village and make us more efficient and better compliance. I see Chris unmuted, so I want to let Chris go first, and then I want to toss it for the committee, see if there's any comments or questions.
So from what I recall, when we did discuss this type of implementation, there was two things that were related to, there is a fee associated with implementing a time clock through paychecks.
Yeah.
And that will be based upon the number of employees that you have. So currently we're at less employees, so the fee will be less. So depending on how long our staffing level, the fee will be less than what we have, which then in turn will mean that from our company, from my side of it, from work side, it will also decrease our time in regards to payroll processing, because instead of having to physically type in every sheet, we'll just be able to automatically upload. It will also save time on each employee and village staff side, because they will be able to just look at a time clock instead of having to manually create every person's time. So every department head will not have to go through every person's timesheet and review it and create that timesheet to provide to us. They can just look at the time clock and see it and then say, okay, approve, and then it will be sent to us for processing into payroll. One other aspect is if we're getting to the point of bad situation where we're running low on cash or those types of items, we can start projecting earlier where we stand cash flow wise, so that if we need to fund it through either a bond issuance or those types of situations, or if we get to that kind of a situation, I'm not saying we're there, just in case we are there, we'll know earlier instead of at the type of last minute situation. We can know earlier because of the way that the village processes their payroll. Okay.
Okay.
I think if there's anything else I wanted to add with that. One other item, it also will allow us to track employees who, when they're on vacation and stuff, it will make it easier for knowing when we have to do payouts, if they have any vacation time or those types of things left over. We can easily know ahead of time, so we can start planning cash flow wise and those types of things easier, instead of waiting at the last minute and then having to go, okay, we have someone's payout of their vacation or their sick time or that stuff, and then we're doing that at the last minute. We'll know ahead of time if we have to do that. Does that all make sense to everyone?
Yes, and I wanted to add something also. So since I've been in this position, I've had people that were terminated or whatever, and the amount of time that they reported was not accurate. And the only reason why I was able to determine that, correct some of the time, was because through emails, when they were saying they were out of the office, one particular person had claimed almost 3 times the amount of time that they actually ended up having. So, you know, one of the issues is the amount of money that you spend when you have to pay paychecks. We end up getting that back tenfold when we don't have to pay people out $20,000 and $10,000 because they're not accurately reporting their time. You know, when you leave people up to their own devices to report the time, you might run into where, whether they do it intentionally or not, they don't report the corrected time. And when I was at a seminar, they said one of the greatest losses of money within the village within employees is actually not having time clocks. So I think that that's something that we should definitely look into. I mean, that one person, it was several $1,000s difference that they ended up getting. So that's something we definitely need to take a look at. And we did have a time clock. I know that when I worked downstairs for a time, not the entire time, but we did have time clock.
Okay. So it was in place before and something that we stopped using, or?
Yeah, we had a hand scanner. And I know that, I know Public Works, the police department, the fire department, all the other departments, they use time clocks to track their time, but we don't at Village Hall.
Okay, so.
Is there a reason why we don't? Liz?
That I can't answer.
Okay.
Question.
I think it's a great idea. Not only will it definitely, you know, save us money as far as paying out if an employee no longer is employed by the village, but also it's an employee record.
Right, and
we don't have it. Right, we don't have an employee record.
And it's not necessarily to track, right, that you came in at 9:15 or 9:08.
No.
That doesn't save us money, but it does if when you depart, you claim you have $27,000 in payoff when it really should be 10. And imagine if you have 50 employees who do that over a 10-year period, you know, and there was a situation prior where an individual had been with the village and took several months off from work and said they had almost 4 months of sick time. And then when it came down to it, you know, when they left, they also claimed they had a payout, and we had nothing to track whether or not that was true or not.
I would add one other item. One of the benefits of a time clock, at least electronically version, is that it will allow us to see time per each employee, so we can better track, see what's causing overtime. So like for PD and fire department, what's causing those types of overtimes? Is it low manning, or people on vacation, sick, and those types of things? So it'll provide us better tracking, because the current process is we have to go back to the physical hard copy records and then try to figure it out. This way, we already have it digitally, so we can just go and figure it out what's causing the actual overtime.
Question. So there's no time clock in PD right now?
I'm not sure as to how PD, from what I'm received, I've never seen PD how they track their time, but what I'm giving is a hard copy document. So that hard copy document, then that's what gets inputted into paychecks. So we don't actually have a electronic version, so we can say, okay, employee A, they were scheduled to work this day, they were gone this day, and that created employee B coming in, which meant overtime. But if we have those all electronically, we can go, okay, this is what was scheduled, this is what happened. Oh, so this is why we had overtime, because we had one person was called off sick, or for whatever reason, they didn't show up, and that required us to call someone back, and that created overtime for that day, for that shift.
Because I know at Village Hall, even if you put a time clock, majority of people there are salaried. But that's a good way to keep track of the, you know, the time off, if they're off, if they're in. Just the only thing that you run a risk of, or not run a risk of, is that you got people who, I know when I was a media director, there would be days I'm there Saturday morning, Sunday morning, or, you know, people who have the different type of schedules. Do they track? Do they clock in every time they're there? They don't clock in every time they're there. So that's the thing that we just have to work out, you know, because there's some people who do the 9 to 5, but there's some people there longer than 9 to 5, or come there on outside of 9 to 5. Do you clock in them hours as well? So
even if they're there on those additional days, you still should be able to track that, correct? I mean, even with me dealing with time cards and things like that, if they work a Saturday or Sunday, that still can be tracked. Or you can set it up where there's a code. Okay, working holiday, or working on a Saturday. A code like 05 could be actual hours. 07 could be working on a Saturday or Sunday. It still should be able to be set up where we can just track everything and everybody. Again, it's just a tracking mechanism to make sure there's no overpayment and that we don't run into the situation like we did before, with a person saying I'm due 2 weeks pay and they actually owe us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And I would say if somebody works on Saturday, I mean, the point is not to lessen people's pay. If they work the hours, they deserve to be paid for the hours, and we should accurately track it and pay it out correctly. The system manually, right? The manual system allows for a lot more variations and errors to occur. So I think there's a real the paychecks will still be available, and in most cases, those are all electronically done. You go on your computer, you click a button, and it clocks you in from the computer. So if they're in and they have access to their computer, they can clock in pretty much 24/7. If they're in office on Saturday at 10 o'clock, they can clock in. If they're in Sunday morning, whatever those times it is. The only challenge would be if they're working off-site, and we need to make sure that they get clocked in. And in most cases, you have the ability for a supervisor to input that information.
Elizabeth, is she still there?
I think we may have
probably lost her. I don't see.
Yeah, see, Village of Dalton.
Yeah,
are both of those Giovanni?
No, I'm GN. Village of Dalton, I believe, is Liz. Her phone's on mute. Maybe she's not aware of it. If you can hear us, Liz, unmute.
Sorry, my phone went out. I had to log back in. I was driving. What was the question?
Trustee Keith had a question.
The question is there a time clock in PD right now?
Yeah, they have a clock. Okay. To my knowledge, they are clocked in and out.
Okay.
All right. So, I mean, that being the case, just for, I guess, formality's sake, I'm in favor of recommending it. And I'll restate, we make the recommendation, but it's not a finance committee vote. It's just something that we could recommend to try to make our village more efficient, and then we can do a follow-up on it in the coming months. But I'm in favor of it. Trustee Brown?
I'm in favor of it.
Okay, Trustee Steve?
I'm in favor.
Okay, so Liz, if you can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so we are making the recommendation to move in that direction. I mean, it sounds like you guys have a lot of things in place for it. It's just a matter of putting it in place. So we'll do some follow-up to see if we're able to implement it at the coming next month's meeting.
Okay, and I'll sit down with Chris also.
Okay, but that being said, if there's no other comments from the committee, we are going to go to the citizens address. If there are any comments that you see, Giovanni, have anything in the on the live feed?
Yes, we do. We have a few. Let me pull it up. Give me 1 second. All right. So we have one person that asked about what is happening for trees and sidewalks. Specifically, the roots continue to grow in the sidewalk and the leaves grow sparsely and turn brown as they hit the ground in the area of 147th and Avalon.
What has been done? So I'm going to say the way I'm interpreting that question, I mean, is are we cutting down trees?
That's what it sounds like.
As they needed. For last year, we exceeded our budget, so trees were being cut down. We exceeded the budget, so we stopped cutting down trees through the end of last fiscal year. This year, we do have a budget, or we're working out the budget. There is money allocated in the budget for tree cutting. So for anybody who does have a tree to be cut down, they should call in. Liz, would that be Public Works, or would they call in and make their request through?
Yeah, they would call Public Works.
Okay, so that call will go into our Public Works department. Does anybody happen to know that number?
I can get it. Hold on.
It is
Well,
708-201-3280. 708-201-3280.
Okay.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you for that.
I'll put that in the chat box as well, just in case if anyone needs it. And that's it. The other resident it's a comment, it's not a question. They just asked if kind of recommend that we send out each district bills. Let me read it word for word. It says, you all need to post when each district's bills are going out and mailed and when they are due. So it's just a comment.
Okay. Do you see any other questions?
Nope, just those two items.
Okay, I did get a text message indicating that the chat is frozen. So I'm getting text message from a resident.
Let me see. I refreshed the screen. Ed, are you able to see it?
I'm able to see it.
Me too.
Okay.
You see the comments there?
I'm able to see it. I got two different screens going. Yes, I'm able to see both of them. So
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna
tell that person to refresh the screen, Jason.
Yeah,
Okay.
refresh their screen.
Well, hopefully they're watching and they see refresh it. I'm gonna check. I'm gonna text it, but then I'll read off the question as it comes to me.
Okay.
The question is, why is there an issue with time clocks when there's been a clock system in place for at least 7 years? I don't know if I can answer why there's an issue with the time clocks. I can say that we have not been using it, which is what I noticed when I was looking at the payroll reports, which is what prompted me to bring this forward now. I think Trustee Steve may have asked why we weren't using it. So I think we had some dialogue on what happened, but the biggest thing from my perspective, at least, is that we look to implement that so that way we don't continue doing stuff that could be more efficiently done.
They said 7 years. They've been time clocking 7 years. Maybe in another department, not the village.
May what type of time clock is it? Is it a punch? Is it a swipe, a badge, or?
My belief is that it's electronic. So you'll log into your computer and then you go to a website and it'll let you punch in and then it tracks it through Paycheck system. Is that what it is, Chris?
Yeah, when they explained it to me, the way it will work is we can set it up so that depending on, like, if you're in the police department, your web address will be strict, your domain or however the terminology is will be strictly for the police department. So you come in, you punch in your code or your login, saying your time. When you take lunch and that kind of stuff, you punch in, punch out, and then at the end of the day, once it's all done, it gets approved by each appropriate level, and then I can just go, okay, pull over, and it automatically pulls all the information straight into Paychecks for payroll processing.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Does that conclude all of the questions you see, Giovanni?
I see one more. Someone just asked a question. When is the library reopening?
Unfortunately, I don't have that information. The library is a separate government entity, or they get a separate tax money, and so they have a separate board that makes those decisions. So I'm unable to answer that question at this time.
Okay, that's the last question I see.
Okay.
Anything else?
Well, I will say, if I can, last but not least, I want to say thanks, Giovanni, Chris, Liz, and all of those who helped to bring this together. Of course, Trustee Steve and Trustee Brown. Sometimes we move so fast we don't remember that it is after hours. So thanks, everybody. And of course, thanks to the residents that take the time out to listen and fill in the questions. With that being said, I will make the motion that we adjourn. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and seconded. For the roll call, Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Steve.
Aye.
And Trustee House is aye. We conclude the meeting at 6:32 p.m. Everybody have a blessed evening.
You too. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.